From July 16th to August 17th, 2025, the Sun will transit through the watery and emotional sign of Cancer, marking an energetic shift in the zodiac. During this period, the astrological landscapes become deeply influenced by Cancer's nurturing, intuitive, and emotionally driven nature. It is essential to note that these interpretations are based on Sidereal or Vedic astrology, which accounts for the approximately 24-degree difference with the tropical zodiac. Cancer is ruled by the moon and represents the home, emotional security, the mother, inner peace, and our roots. When the authoritative and solar energy of the Sun moves into this tender and protective sign, it creates a complex interplay between ego and emotion, ambition and nurturing, external status and internal security. This transit is further intensified by Mercury's presence in Cancer, forming a conjunction with the Sun. Mercury will retrograde on July 18th and then turn direct again on August 11th, all while remaining in Cancer, thereby deepening the intellectual-emotional interaction throughout this phase. The Sun, as the significator of ego, self-esteem, authority, government, fatherly figures, health, and life direction, finds itself in a sign where logic must learn to cooperate with emotion. This period challenges our need for outward validation and pushes us to discover strength through emotional intelligence. The Cancerian Sun does not shine with arrogance or flamboyance but radiates warmth through emotional reliability, sensitivity, and a strong desire to protect one's loved ones and personal space. It's a time when the world collectively turns its attention toward domestic matters, familial bonds, private life, and the sense of belonging. Because the Sun is moving through a friendly sign, Cancer being neutral towards the Sun, it doesn't feel discomfort here, but its usual boldness is toned down. The soul's energy, Sun, seeks security and emotional grounding, which may lead individuals to temporarily take a backseat in public affairs to focus on internal alignment. Matters of home, real estate, mother's health, and internal peace become top priorities. This is also a good time to reassess one's emotional responses, security needs, and how one defines success beyond material or societal standards. The conjunction with Mercury during this time also adds an intellectual flavor to emotional matters. It's a powerful period for emotional articulation, journaling, deep conversations with family, and introspective thinking. Mercury's retrograde from July 18th to August 11th can create miscommunications, emotional overthinking, and misunderstandings within the family or at home. It's advisable to avoid making emotionally driven decisions or signing important documents during this time without careful review. As always, Mercury retrograde demands patience, reflection, and revisiting the past, especially family history or old unresolved emotional wounds. Another important layer to this transit is the larger planetary context. Saturn is retrograding in Pisces, a fellow water sign, and trines the Sun in Cancer by sign. This retrograde Saturn brings internal restructuring and karmic accountability, especially around spiritual foundations, emotional discipline, and psychological maturity. The trinal connection with the Sun supports building emotional resilience and maturity if one is willing to do the inner work. Saturn's retrograde may also test the sustainability of personal commitments and the authenticity of one's emotional support systems. Meanwhile, Jupiter is transiting Gemini, the sign preceding Cancer. Gemini represents curiosity, movement, and information exchange. As Jupiter continues to expand communication and learning, the Sun in Cancer seeks depth and emotional meaning in this information overload. There may be a subtle push-pull between intellectual growth and emotional comfort, and the lesson is to integrate both for balanced decision-making. Rahu continues its transit through Aquarius, and Ketu through Leo. This places Ketu in the sign ruled by the Sun itself, thus subtly weakening some of the Sun's global impact through Ketu's separating, spiritualizing influence. The presence of Ketu in Leo can bring issues of ego deflation, father figures being scrutinized, or authority being questioned. Since the Sun is in Cancer, Ketu is in Leo, these dynamics may manifest in the form of emotional power struggles, heightened sensitivity to criticism, or difficulty asserting oneself clearly. Mars is currently in Leo and forms a fiery conjunction with Ketu until July 28th. This is a volatile combination and may provoke impulsive decisions, suppressed anger, or emotional outbursts, especially when ego is challenged. After July 28th, Mars enters Virgo, where it becomes more analytical, which may ease the fiery dynamics and complement the Sun's transit in Cancer with practical action. Venus, comfortably placed in its own sign Taurus for most of this period, shifts to Gemini on July 26th, forming a conjunction with Jupiter. This conjunction supports harmony in communication, pleasant social exchanges, and creative inspiration, especially after Mercury goes direct. In broader terms, the Sun's transit through Cancer is always a time of emotional realignment. It asks us to slow down, reflect, and become more attuned to the inner voice rather than chasing external validation. Wherever the Sun goes in transit for 1 month, our soul and our focus go into things related to that house. A person will feel gravitated, motivated, or even forced to take up things related to the house where the sun is moving. Likewise, if the sun is transiting over any significant natal planets in your chart, especially your moon, Mars, or Jupiter, those themes will activate prominently in your life. Sun over Mercury, especially during Mercury retrograde, may cause mental confusion or emotional over-intellectualization. It's essential to look at both the natal and transit dignity of planets to derive precise outcomes. To accurately assess the impact of these transits, it is crucial to consider your ascendant and moon signs. The ascendant sign offers insights into the timing of life events, while the moon sign reveals how you will emotionally respond to these changes. Take into account the position of your current Maha-dasha lord in your birth chart, as it can shed light on how these transits will influence the recurring themes of your current dasha period. This transit may manifest differently for each individual, and how they navigate this transit will depend on their personal charts. A more precise understanding of the impact of this transit can be gained by examining the Sun's Ashtaka Varga score in Cancer. Keep in mind that the effects of this transit are contingent on Sun's interaction with the planets in individual birth charts. It's also worth noting that individuals currently experiencing the influence of Sun dasha periods may feel the effects of this transit more intensely. To understand how this transit may affect you based on your zodiac sign and the houses it transits, let's delve into those specifics. For Aries, the transit of the Sun through Cancer holds deep emotional and karmic implications, especially as it involves a shift of the 5th house lord, Sun, into the 4th house of home, inner security, mother, emotional stability, domestic life, and real estate. This transit is a reflective one, with a strong undercurrent of vulnerability, emotional confrontation, and introspective evaluation. The fact that the Sun loses its directional strength in the 4th house adds to the complexity. It no longer shines as brightly here, suggesting that themes of self-expression and confidence may feel muted or internalized. As the ruler of the 5th house, the Sun carries the energy of creativity, intelligence, children, love, romance, and speculative gains. When this 5th house lord enters the emotional terrain of the 4th house, these vibrant and expressive areas of life are filtered through the lens of emotional comfort and security. You may find yourself retreating into your inner world, reflecting on what truly brings you joy, not just externally, but at the soul level. Creative passions may become more private, or you might experience a lull in motivation, questioning whether your talents are being truly nurtured. Your focus may shift to how emotionally supported you feel while pursuing your passions. There may be a subconscious search for validation from your family or inner circle, or an urge to reconnect with the nurturing aspects of life that were left unattended. Since the 4th house also deals with real estate, your home environment, and your emotional roots, this transit often brings matters related to your residence to the forefront. You may be involved in changes within your home space, renovations, or considerations about relocating. The Sun's diminished strength here means you might feel emotionally overwhelmed or mentally scattered when dealing with these issues. Situations related to your mother's health or emotional state could also become important during this time. If there have been tensions in the home, unresolved matters may now rise to the surface, forcing you to deal with them directly. This is also a time where your emotional needs and mental peace take precedence, whether you realize it or not. The Sun's ego-driven nature, when placed in the 4th house of softness and nurturing, is not entirely comfortable. As such, you might feel more sensitive to criticism, more reactive in domestic settings, or find it harder to assert your will in familiar surroundings. You may feel an inner push-pull between your desires for external success, as the 5th lord, and your current emotional reality. What used to excite you might now feel exhausting, and instead of seeking attention or recognition, you might prefer solitude and emotional replenishment. The 5th house also governs romance and children, and with its lord transiting through the emotional 4th, issues concerning these themes might now be tinged with sentimentality, nostalgia, or emotional fluctuations. You may feel a stronger need to nurture your relationship with your children, or even revisit the way you express love and care in your romantic life. If you're a parent, your child's emotional or educational needs might demand more of your attention. Alternatively, you could reconnect with creative hobbies that were once a source of joy but had been forgotten in the busyness of life. On a mental level, this transit may prompt you to think about your education or intellectual growth in a more private or inward manner. If you've been considering further education or diving into a subject of deep interest, you may find yourself retreating into a more isolated space to study, reflect, and absorb knowledge. Due to the directional weakness of the Sun here, this isn't a time for bold moves. It's more a time for preparation. Emotional sensitivity is heightened during this period, and Mercury's retrograde in Cancer from July 18th to August 11th only adds to the introspective tone. Mercury governs your 3rd and 6th houses, communication, courage, routine, health, and its retrograde in your 4th house can bring old memories, unresolved domestic issues, or family communication glitches to the surface. Expect disruptions at home or delays in real estate or legal paperwork related to property. Conversations with family members may also be misunderstood, miscommunicated, or overly emotional. But this retrograde can serve as a necessary internal reset. It's an invitation to listen more than speak and reflect before reacting. Health is also an area to monitor during this time, particularly emotional health. The Sun in the 4th, combined with Mercury's retrograde, may highlight the psychosomatic connection between your emotions and your physical state. Heart, chest, or digestion-related concerns could manifest, especially if you suppress emotions or take on too much domestic responsibility without pause. This transit also places a subtle emphasis on legacy and past karma. Since the 4th house is symbolic of ancestral roots and the foundation of your emotional body, you may feel the weight of your upbringing, family traditions, or inherited emotional patterns. There may be a psychological review going on beneath the surface, questioning the roles you play within your family or the belief systems you adopted early in life. Meanwhile, Saturn's retrograde in Pisces, your 12th house, offers a subtle but profound background influence. The 12th house governs isolation, rest, foreign lands, and spiritual surrender. Saturn here is asking you to let go of subconscious baggage, self-sabotaging tendencies, and fears rooted in your emotional past. When combined with the Sun in the 4th house, this transit becomes a time of deep emotional purification, where you might not see visible results right away, but the internal work being done is powerful and necessary. This could be a wonderful period to engage in therapy, retreats, or deep meditation practices that help rewire your emotional foundations. Jupiter in Gemini, your 3rd house, also plays a supportive role. It brings expansion to communication, self-effort, and intellectual pursuits. If you engage in writing, journaling, or any expressive form that helps you make sense of your feelings, you'll benefit greatly during this time. Jupiter here can help you articulate what the Sun in the 4th is revealing emotionally, especially once Mercury goes direct after August 11th. The Mars, Ketu conjunction in Leo until July 28th is in your 5th house, the very house the Sun rules. This combination is fiery, sharp, and can lead to emotional or creative burnout if not handled carefully. It may temporarily detach you from joy, romance, or even your children. The urge to cut ties with past pleasures or emotional attachments could be strong. But once Mars moves into Virgo and activates your 6th house on July 28th, you'll regain a clearer sense of direction, focusing more on routine, problem-solving, and discipline. The transit of Venus through Taurus, your 2nd house, until July 26th, lends grounding energy. It helps you stabilize your finances, self-worth, and family interactions, offering a small yet significant balm to the deeper emotional waves stirred by the Sun. Overall, the Sun's transit through the 4th house for Aries individuals is not a time of visibility, glory, or external recognition. It is a time for emotional reset, introspection, and healing. The 5th Lord here is asked to quiet down, to feel rather than perform, and to nurture the inner child rather than entertain the world. While this phase may feel quiet, even isolating, it holds the potential to rejuvenate your spirit in ways that become clear only in hindsight. For Taurus, the Sun's transit through Cancer marks a vibrant period of mental activation, skill development, and personal courage. As the ruler of your 4th house, the house of home, emotional well-being, mother, domestic life, and inner stability, the Sun's shift into your 3rd house, which governs communication, self-effort, initiative, courage, siblings, travel, and learning, sets up a unique interplay between your emotional roots and your external expression. This transit emphasizes themes of self-assertion, especially in matters where you've previously held back. Since the Sun represents your soul, authority, confidence, and self-worth, its journey through the 3rd house urges you to use your voice more effectively. You may find yourself more involved in writing, speaking, or sharing ideas, particularly on subjects that reflect your personal values or emotional truths. The 3rd house is also the domain of skills, practical and creative, and the Sun here pushes you to sharpen your abilities, take up new learning paths, and overcome hesitation in areas where you've lacked the courage to act. As the Sun is the natural significator of confidence and visibility, this period supports you in coming forward, being heard, and making a name for yourself through your own efforts. Because Cancer is a watery, emotionally driven sign ruled by the Moon, the Sun's fiery presence becomes more inwardly directed here. For Taurus individuals, who already prefer stability and calculated decisions, this creates a gentle push to act on emotionally resonant goals. You're not just doing things for the sake of action, you are now more inspired to engage in pursuits that touch your heart. There is an emotional motivation behind your communication and your decisions. You may write or speak more sentimentally, or you might find yourself advocating for causes that connect with your past or your roots. It's a favorable time to reach out to siblings or close neighbors, especially if there have been emotional gaps or miscommunication in the past. Since the 4th house also relates to property, real estate, and vehicles, the 3rd house transit of the Sun might bring some movement or discussions related to such matters. You could begin the process of selling, purchasing, or leasing a home, or perhaps there's more travel related to family or property affairs. These developments may not be dramatic, but they signal progress through consistent effort. The 3rd house, after all, is a house of perseverance. It rewards continued focus rather than sudden breakthroughs. You may need to have multiple conversations, send documents, or engage in official communication to sort things out related to home or property. The Sun-Mercury conjunction activates the 3rd house's communicative and intellectual potential, but Mercury retrograde demands you tread carefully. Misunderstandings, delays in correspondence, and misalignment in agreements are all possible during the retrograde. If you're involved in contracts, negotiations, or legal paperwork, ensure you're double-checking the fine print and not rushing into decisions. Mercury retrograde is excellent for reviewing old documents, reconnecting with siblings or extended family, and gaining clarity on previous emotional miscommunications. It's also a great time to work on editing or rewriting projects, especially those involving personal expression. The deeper emotional significance of this transit lies in the energetic bridge between the 4th and 3rd houses. The 4th house is your emotional foundation. It's where you go for comfort and security. The 3rd house is where you take the first steps to express that inner self to the outer world. With the Sun as the ruler of your 4th house moving into the 3rd, you are being invited to externalize what you feel. This could mean speaking more openly about your feelings, your family, your memories, or your sense of identity. You might even channel this emotional energy into writing, storytelling, or advocacy. If you've been emotionally withdrawn or quiet, this period will begin to change that. You may surprise yourself with how much more vocal and assertive you've become by the end of this transit. In terms of personal relationships, especially with younger siblings or peers, this transit may highlight some important conversations. The Sun's authoritative presence might lead to you either asserting yourself more strongly or confronting dynamics where someone else is dominating the communication. Power struggles can surface, especially when Mercury is retrograde. It's important to be mindful of ego clashes. Choose to speak with clarity, kindness, and confidence rather than aggression or emotional defensiveness. From a career perspective, this period may not be focused on major promotions or long-term goals, but is extremely fertile for side projects, skill building, marketing, branding, and short-term campaigns. If you are in media, writing, advertising, teaching, counseling, or sales, the Sun in your 3rd house can be a major boost. You'll be seen as someone who carries authority in communication. If you've been planning to start a blog, a YouTube channel, or some sort of knowledge-sharing platform, this is an excellent window to initiate it. Just be mindful of Mercury's retrograde and try to launch things after August 11th. Adding complexity, Saturn is retrograde in Pisces, which is your 11th house of networking, goals, and long-term gains. There's a supportive trinal relationship between Cancer and Pisces, so your communicative efforts during this Sun transit can support your broader ambitions. You may attract opportunities to work with networks, organizations, or like-minded individuals, but progress will be gradual. Since Saturn is retrograde, you may be revisiting old friendships, long-standing aspirations, or delays in rewards from past efforts. Patience will be key. Use this Sun transit to take the small but important steps that contribute to long-term outcomes. Jupiter's transit in Gemini, your 2nd house of wealth, family, and speech, adds an underlying optimism to your financial and familial landscape. You may speak with more wisdom or receive financial advice from someone in your immediate environment. This also suggests that your ideas, especially those communicated clearly, could have a direct impact on your earning potential. If you've been considering monetizing a skill or exploring a side hustle, Jupiter's placement supports your growth, especially if you pair knowledge with disciplined action. Meanwhile, the conjunction of Mars and Ketu in your 4th house until July 28th could stir agitation in your home life. Mars in the 4th is never comfortable. It often indicates disputes, restlessness, or work being done in the home. Ketu, being a moksha karaka, adds confusion or detachment. You may be going through emotional upheaval related to your home, mother, or private space. This could also lead you to push harder to express yourself and assert your emotional truth, which fits with the Sun's move into your 3rd house. After July 28th, when Mars moves into Virgo, the 5th house, things should settle on the domestic front, and your focus can turn more toward creativity or romance. Venus transiting in Taurus until July 26th blesses you with charm and personal magnetism. You'll likely come across as graceful and composed, which supports your ability to express your views with poise during the Sun's third house transit. After Venus moves into Gemini and joins Jupiter, your second house gains strength, improving financial matters, family relationships, and verbal expression. Overall, this Sun transit through Cancer brings a powerful opportunity for Taurus individuals to re-engage with the world through voice, effort, and courage. It's a time to rediscover your emotional narrative and express it meaningfully. Whether it's writing a heartfelt letter, advocating for a loved one, learning a new skill, or launching a creative project, your efforts now are infused with emotional depth and purpose. Rather than waiting for outer validation, this transit encourages you to carve your path forward with the quiet but steady power that only comes from knowing where you stand and what you feel. For Gemini, the Sun's transit through Cancer unfolds with a strong emphasis on financial priorities, communication within family, and emotional identification with personal values. Since the Sun governs the third house in your chart, associated with communication, self-effort, skills, travel, courage, and personal ambition, and is now moving through your second house, which deals with finances, speech, family lineage, food, possessions, and emotional security. This period acts as a bridge between your aspirations and your material grounding. The second house in astrology is not only about earning money, but also how one defines self-worth and values. When the Sun, the planet of ego, soul, and illumination, moves into this zone, it throws light on your relationship with your resources and how your upbringing or family environment has shaped your sense of security. The Sun's connection to your third house brings a drive to express yourself more assertively regarding financial decisions. You might find yourself more vocal about your needs, or you may take the initiative to improve your income through skill-based efforts. This is a time when you are likely to become highly conscious of your speech, your authority within the family, and how confidently you represent your values to others. Cancer, being a watery, emotional sign ruled by the moon, brings emotional sensitivity into this financial and communicative sphere. You may speak more gently but from a place of deep feeling. Discussions with family may carry emotional weight or center around issues of shared responsibility, financial planning, or ancestral property. There could be a renewed sense of connection to your family roots, your heritage, or the values passed down through generations. At times, you may also feel emotional pressure to live up to family expectations, especially regarding career paths or financial stability. Because the Sun represents one's soul and inner light, its transit through the second house may bring a powerful urge to redefine what wealth means to you. It's not uncommon for individuals going through such a transit to experience moments of clarity around money, especially tied to self-worth. You may begin to realize that your value isn't solely defined by your bank balance, but by the consistency with which you express your talents and beliefs. The third house rulership of the Sun adds to this message. It's not just about having wealth, but how you use your courage, intellect, and communication to generate it authentically. If you've been hesitating to charge your worth, ask for a raise, or speak about your financial needs, this transit can give you the resolve to do so. During this period, Mercury, your ruling planet, is also transiting Cancer, forming a conjunction with the Sun and retrograding between July 18th and August 11th. This retrograde adds a layer of introspection to your communication and mental processes. You may revisit old financial plans, rethink a budget, or uncover hidden emotional beliefs that have been impacting your financial decision-making. Communication within the family could become more intense or confusing. It's advisable to avoid making any major financial decisions or committing to important purchases during the retrograde window unless it's something previously planned. This is a valuable time to examine financial habits or rethink how you've been managing and communicating about money. Mercury retrograde in the second house also brings a heightened focus on the voice, not just how you speak to others, but how you speak to yourself. You might become aware of how much your internal narrative about self-worth is impacting your external world. With the Sun amplifying this house and Mercury retracing mental steps, you have a powerful window to realign with your truth and express it with greater conviction. The transit also opens doors to use your natural skills more productively. The Sun, being the ruler of the third house, enhances learning, short-distance travel, marketing, digital work, and writing. If you have a talent in communication, education, or content creation, this transit could be an ideal time to monetize that skill. You may even think about launching something new after Mercury turns direct on August 11th. Those working in family businesses or collaborative financial efforts will also see this period as pivotal, especially if there's a need to take on a leadership role or resolve long-pending issues. Saturn's ongoing retrograde in Pisces, your 10th house, adds a heavy but stabilizing background energy. It shows that career responsibilities and long-term ambitions are undergoing a test. You may feel that even though you are putting in effort, recognition or progress is slow. But the trinal relationship between Cancer and Pisces provides a supportive framework. If you focus on building your finances and speech-related confidence now, you are contributing to longer-term career stability. The work you're doing during this transit may seem minor, but it's laying the foundation for more serious professional gains, especially in the months ahead. Jupiter's transit through your own sign of Gemini also adds optimism and expansion. As Jupiter expands the mind and opportunities in the first house, and the Sun shines light on the second, the combination is very supportive of personal and financial growth. You may get ideas that can bring both intellectual and financial satisfaction. There's also a renewed belief in your capacity to speak, lead, and attract abundance. Just ensure you remain grounded and don't overpromise or rush decisions during Mercury's retrograde phase. Meanwhile, Mars is transiting Leo and forming a conjunction with Ketu until July 28th in your third house. This combination could bring bursts of impulsive action or irritability in communication, especially with siblings or neighbors. You might feel an urge to speak harsh truths or withdraw communication altogether. This energy must be handled carefully, as Mars Ketu can cut off or burn bridges if left unmanaged. Since the Sun rules this very third house and is transiting the second, the consequences of your speech during this time may have tangible effects, especially on relationships or finances. Once Mars moves into Virgo on July 28th, you'll find more mental clarity and analytical calm, especially regarding family and emotional matters. Venus, which governs your 5th and 12th houses, continues its transit through Taurus, your 12th house, until July 26th, before moving into Gemini and joining Jupiter in your first house. Until Venus changes signs, there's a quiet emotional undercurrent. You might find yourself reflecting on past relationships, spiritual matters, or feeling more creatively inclined in private. Once Venus moves into Gemini, there's a noticeable shift toward attraction, charm, and artistic or romantic confidence. This bolsters the overall impact of the Sun's transit, making you more expressive, persuasive, and magnetic in your personal and financial dealings. Overall, the Sun's transit through your second house brings forth a season of grounding, emotional reflection around self-worth, and a sincere push to vocalize your needs and values. It encourages you to merge your courage and communication skills with your material ambitions, offering you a chance to redefine how you approach wealth and what you believe you deserve. Speak with intention, act with confidence, and allow your internal values to shape your external reality. For Cancer, the transit of the Sun through your own sign marks a period of heightened self-focus, personal realization, and identity transformation. The Sun, which governs your second house of wealth, family values, speech, and accumulated resources, now moves into your first house, the house of self, body, personality, character, and how others perceive you. This alignment creates a powerful moment of redefinition, where the way you project yourself into the world merges with deeper questions of self-worth, confidence, and personal power. The attention now shifts toward how you carry yourself and the image you convey to others, especially in connection with your voice, values, and material stability. With the Sun being the significator of the soul and your individual vitality, its transit over your first house amplifies your aura and presence. You may notice that people start paying more attention to you, or that you feel more visible and self-aware. This can manifest positively as increased confidence and personal magnetism, but it may also bring a sharper awareness of your insecurities or places where you feel unrecognized. Since the Sun rules your second house and is now positioned in the first, themes related to finances, family heritage, and speech become extensions of your identity. You might become more vocal about your needs, assert your opinions more freely, or take pride in your financial independence. There's also a greater tendency to take charge of your own goals, stepping out of the shadows and into a role of personal authority. Cancer as a sign is ruled by the Moon, which brings emotional depth, intuition, and nurturing qualities. When the Sun, a fiery and commanding energy, transits through Cancer, it doesn't express itself as boldly as it might in signs like Aries or Leo. Instead, it internalizes its authority, encouraging strength through emotional intelligence and self-nurturing. For Cancer individuals, who often shy away from overt self-promotion, this period can feel both empowering and challenging. You may find yourself having to strike a balance between the desire to protect your inner world and the need to assert your external identity. There can be emotional sensitivity during this time. What others say or how they respond to you may carry more weight than usual. This can also be the moment you begin to stop seeking external validation and instead trust the strength that comes from within. The Sun transiting your first house often brings a health-related spotlight as well. You become more conscious of your physical body, how you appear, and how healthy you feel. This is a good time to initiate a new health regimen or diet, especially one that supports long-term vitality rather than temporary results. Since the Sun is connected to immunity, energy, and vitality, its passage through your first house can strengthen your overall constitution, particularly if the Sun is well placed in your natal chart. If the Sun is afflicted natally, this may also bring some stress, inflammation, or fatigue, particularly in the head or eyes. It's essential during this time to take care of both your physical body and emotional health, especially if you're pushing yourself into the spotlight or taking on leadership roles. As the ruler of the second house, the Sun's energy carries the themes of your voice, food habits, and inherited wealth into the first house. You may find yourself reflecting on how your family's beliefs or traditions have influenced your sense of self. Are you living in accordance with your own values, or are you still echoing the expectations set by your upbringing? These kinds of questions may arise spontaneously during this time. It's also an excellent period to clarify your financial goals, especially those that are linked to personal autonomy. You might be more driven to prove your financial independence or take steps to align your earnings with your individual talents. Since the Sun represents personal pride, earning money through your own skills will feel particularly satisfying during this period. With the Sun and Mercury conjunct in your first house, your intellect, communication style, and decision-making process come to the forefront. You may find yourself reflecting on your past, your self-image, or earlier choices that shaped your current path. Mercury Retrograde demands that you slow down and reevaluate rather than charge forward. There could be delays or misunderstandings in how others perceive your words or intentions. Be careful with your speech, especially since Mercury governs both your third house of communication and 12th house of subconscious and hidden matters. You may unintentionally reveal more than intended or misread others' emotional cues. Nonetheless, this is a great time for inner work, journaling, self-analysis, or revisiting old personal goals with a fresh perspective. The presence of Saturn retrograde in Pisces, your 9th house of Dharma, higher education, philosophy, and long-distance travel, adds a layer of karmic reflection to this transit. Saturn's influence during this period reminds you that personal growth is not just about external appearance or performance, but about the alignment of your actions with your beliefs. The Sun brings confidence and energy, but Saturn ensures you are using that energy responsibly. You may find yourself contemplating the legacy you want to leave, your ethical boundaries, or how your long-held philosophies have evolved. Jupiter's transit in Gemini, which occupies your 12th house, is also highly relevant during this Sun transit. The 12th house represents loss, liberation, solitude, dreams, and foreign lands. While the Sun shines brightly in the first house, Jupiter continues to encourage you to let go of the unnecessary baggage from the past. This can be a delicate dance, asserting yourself in the world while learning to surrender inner resistance. If you've been overly worried about how others see you or how much success you've achieved, this is a time to ground your self-worth in something deeper and more enduring. Mars conjunct Ketu in Leo until July 28th, transiting your second house, creates a fiery, unpredictable influence on finances and speech. You may feel an urge to be blunt, or you might become impulsive in spending or investment decisions. Mars-Ketu combinations are intense and spiritual, often creating a desire to break away from material dependencies or outdated family conditioning. Since the Sun, your second lord, is transiting the first house, how you handle these impulses will directly affect your self-image and emotional balance. After Mars moves into Virgo on July 28th, the tension should ease, and you'll likely have better control over your words and money matters. Venus, traveling through Taurus until July 26th, blesses your 11th house of gains, social circles, and aspirations, supporting your personal goals with pleasant interactions and financial opportunities. After it enters Gemini and joins Jupiter in your 12th house, there's a shift toward inner fulfillment and perhaps a desire for retreat, romance behind the scenes, or a creative focus in solitude. Overall, the Sun's transit through your first house is a profound moment of personal realignment and illumination. It draws attention to your individuality, your presence, and the personal power you hold to shape your identity. As the second lord enters the first, your voice, values, and resources become part of your self-definition. The outer world may take notice of you more, but the most meaningful recognition will come from within, as you realign with what truly matters to you. Use this time to nurture your health, assert your truth, and embody the kind of presence that inspires both respect and emotional authenticity. For Leo, the Sun's transit through Cancer marks a deeply introspective and transitional period. Since the Sun is your chart ruler, the planet that signifies your very essence, vitality, personality, and identity, its passage through the 12th house, the house of isolation, subconscious, dreams, loss, liberation, foreign lands, and hidden areas, brings a temporary dimming of external focus and a shift inward. This is the final phase of the Sun's solar cycle before it returns to your first house next month, making it a time for reflection, release, emotional closure, and preparation for a reset. The 12th house is often misunderstood because of its associations with loss, endings, and seclusion. For spiritually inclined individuals, This house can be one of the most meaningful, as it encourages detachment from the ego and material attachments. As the Sun, your ruling planet, transits this space, you may naturally feel a drop in your usual energy levels. There could be a sense of withdrawal from the world, a desire for solitude, or even confusion about your direction. But this is not a time to push forward. Instead, it is a time to listen to your inner voice, to pay attention to your dreams, to rest, and to reevaluate your life's trajectory. Because the Sun governs your identity and conscious expression, its move through the 12th house creates a subtle but powerful transformation of your self-image. You may begin to see patterns in your life that were previously hidden. Old wounds or repressed feelings might surface. Rather than suppress them, this is a time to acknowledge and process them. You may benefit from therapy, meditation, spiritual study, or simply spending time alone in nature. Creative work done in private, such as writing or painting, can also be deeply healing during this period. The Sun here doesn't seek applause. It seeks alignment between your soul and your path. You are being called to recharge your inner battery before stepping out renewed when the Sun enters Leo next month. The emotional nature of Cancer, the sign in which this transit occurs, further deepens your sensitivity. Cancer brings emotional vulnerability, a connection to the past, family memories, and the comfort of the known. When the Sun transits this watery sign in your 12th house, you may feel nostalgic or emotionally raw. There may be dreams that bring up childhood experiences, or an increased need to rest and retreat. For those who work in helping professions, hospitals, spiritual centers, or foreign lands, this transit can activate meaningful inner fulfillment, but for others, it can bring feelings of fatigue or emotional overwhelm if the need for quiet is ignored. It's important to allow space for emotions to rise and settle without judgment. Because the 12th house also rules foreign lands and distant places, this transit could coincide with a trip abroad, a relocation, or even thoughts of moving away. If you're already living away from your birthplace, you may feel a deeper longing for spiritual connection or ancestral healing. There's a karmic undertone to this period. Events may unfold that feel fated, especially those involving losses, endings, or intuitive insights. If you are letting go of something, be it a relationship, an old identity, or an outdated dream, this is the right time to do so. The 12th house supports surrender, not control. This transit can also impact your health, particularly if you've been pushing yourself too hard. The Sun in the 12th is not strong, especially if it faces affliction from Saturn, Rahu, or Ketu in the natal or transit chart. You may notice a dip in stamina or a need to withdraw from social engagements. It's important to listen to your body and not mistake temporary low energy for weakness. Your system is simply calling for regeneration. Adequate rest, spiritual practice, and nourishment are essential now. This is also a good time to undergo treatments, especially those related to sleep, immune function, or chronic fatigue. From a financial standpoint, the 12th house rules expenses and losses. Since the Sun is your sign lord, and now positioned here, you must be cautious with money. Hidden costs or unconscious spending may surface. Be wary of impulsive purchases, particularly during Mercury's retrograde in Cancer, which takes place from July 18th to August 11th. This retrograde also activates your 12th house, potentially leading to confusion around documentation, travel bookings, or communication with foreign contacts. Rechecking all paperwork and avoiding major financial decisions during this time is advisable. On a deeper level, Mercury retrograde conjunct the Sun in Cancer allows for powerful subconscious healing. You may recover memories that offer new clarity. Journaling your dreams or engaging in spiritual dialogue can bring profound insight. Since Mercury rules your 2nd and 11th houses, topics related to income, speech, friendships, and long-term goals may feel paused or under review. Use this time to step back, evaluate, and recalibrate before acting after August 11th when Mercury goes direct. Meanwhile, Saturn retrograde in Pisces, the 8th house for Leo individuals, adds another layer of depth and karmic responsibility. This is a supportive time for inner healing, especially if you are working through grief, ancestral baggage, or trust issues. Saturn teaches responsibility and maturity through challenges, and when combined with Sun in the 12th house, it invites you to make peace with your solitude, to trust silence, and to learn the value of letting go. Jupiter transiting Gemini, your 11th house of aspirations, gains, networks, and recognition, adds a quiet yet encouraging tone to your larger goals. Even as you go through this inward phase, the long-term outlook remains optimistic. You may be reflecting on which goals are truly meaningful to you, which friendships are worth keeping, or whether your dreams align with your evolving values. Some Leo individuals may use this transit to plan philanthropic work or creative endeavors meant to serve a larger cause. The Mars-Ketu conjunction in Leo, which lasts until July 28th in your 1st house, is of critical importance. This alignment can stir restlessness, emotional irritability, or a desire to act impulsively, particularly in your identity, appearance, or decisions. Since the Sun, your ruler, is in the 12th house, while Mars, a fiery and action-oriented planet, is with Ketu in your 1st house, the risk of burnout, accidents, or ego conflicts increases if you try to force your will. This is not the time to push forward aggressively. Rather, channel your energy into refinement and self-discipline. After July 28th, when Mars enters Virgo, the pressure eases, and you can act with more clarity and grounded intention. Venus, transiting through Taurus until July 26th, strengthens your 10th house of career, reputation, and public life, offering a buffer of support, while the Sun retreats in the 12th. You may receive career opportunities or recognition that arrive unexpectedly but require a quiet behind-the-scenes role. After Venus enters Gemini and joins Jupiter in your 11th house, the social and financial tone begins to lift. Support from friends, well-wishers, or professional connections may come through once the internal work of the 12th house is complete. Overall, the Sun's transit through Cancer, your 12th house, is a deeply spiritual and emotionally significant time. It invites you to pause, retreat, and listen rather than act. The usual Leo need to shine is temporarily subdued, not to punish, but to prepare for a brighter emergence when the Sun returns to Leo next month. What you release now, old habits, outdated goals, hidden fears, creates space for a more powerful and authentic version of yourself to emerge. For Virgo, the transit of the Sun through the sign of Cancer from July 16th to August 17th, 2025, initiates a phase of reflection and reassessment centered around social involvement, ambitions, and gains from your life efforts. The Sun, which governs your 12th house, a domain that oversees spirituality, isolation, foreign lands, hidden enemies, subconscious patterns, and loss, is now moving through your 11th house, which governs long-term goals, friendships, professional circles, public rewards, and fulfillment of desires. This transit brings with it a unique blend of introspection and external engagement. The Sun is the planet of confidence, illumination, clarity, and authority. When it governs the 12th house and transits through the 11th, its light casts a glow on your aspirations but also reveals what lies beneath them. You may find yourself wondering whether the dreams you've been chasing are truly aligned with your deeper purpose. On the surface, this period could bring invitations to social events, collaborations, or new connections in your professional circle. These opportunities will likely come with a spiritual or karmic theme, perhaps involving someone from a distant place, a foreign organization, or a cause that involves humanitarian or charitable work. The desire to contribute to something bigger than yourself may become more compelling, especially if your recent efforts have felt too individualistic or disconnected from a sense of purpose. Cancer, being a water sign ruled by the moon, brings a soft, emotional quality to this solar transit. The 11th house, which normally has a more intellectual and goal-driven nature, now becomes infused with feeling. This means your interactions with friends, mentors, or networks may carry emotional weight. You may become more emotionally attached to the causes you support, or you may feel the need for emotional reciprocity in your social connections. It's not enough to simply attend events or work within groups. You'll be seeking connection that feels real, nourishing, and aligned with your internal emotional rhythm. If some friendships or alliances feel artificial or transactional, you may naturally begin to distance yourself from them. Because the 12th house represents both endings and beginnings, specifically, those that are karmically driven, its Lord transiting in the 11th house may bring closure to long-standing friendships, collaborations, or aspirations that no longer serve your evolution. This might happen subtly or over time, but the inner awareness of what you've outgrown will become increasingly hard to ignore. For some Virgo individuals, this could be the moment you stop chasing a certain kind of social approval or external validation. You may begin to crave more solitude or time to reflect, even in the midst of social activity. Mercury, your ruling planet, is also transiting Cancer during this time and will retrograde between July 18th and August 11th, forming a conjunction with the Sun. This makes the dialogues around friendships, aspirations, and public presence even more layered. Mercury retrograde is always a time to pause, reassess, and reframe your thoughts and communication. In the 11th house, this retrograde can bring back old friends, mentors, or colleagues from the past, offering a chance to reconnect, revise joint plans, or gain closure on a previous project. Misunderstandings in group dynamics or digital communications are also possible, so it's important to be mindful of how you express yourself in public spaces, particularly online or within large teams. Financially, the 11th house is also associated with gains, particularly those that come through one's efforts in the 10th house, career. With the Sun, the ruler of your 12th house of expenditure and loss, transiting here, there may be fluctuations in your financial landscape. You might see gains from overseas work or projects that have a spiritual or charitable component, but you may also face increased expenses related to social obligations or donations. This is a good time to analyze whether your financial investments, especially those tied to long-term goals, are yielding not just returns but also emotional satisfaction. You may become more generous during this time, donating to causes or helping someone close to you. On a more subtle level, this transit encourages you to examine how your deepest unconscious patterns, those governed by the 12th house, are playing out in your friendships and social identity. With the sun shining in your 11th house, you are being asked to take your place on the stage, not necessarily with loud declarations, but by owning your authentic desires and ambitions. There's a fine line to walk here between quiet service and self-sacrifice, and this is the month to become more conscious of where you fall on that spectrum. Saturn's retrograde motion in Pisces, your 7th house of one-on-one relationships, adds another layer of complexity. The 11th and 7th houses form a natural connection in matters of social belonging and interpersonal contracts. You may be reflecting on how your partnerships, both personal and professional, support or conflict with your broader aspirations. Are your relationships empowering your goals, or are they draining your energy? Saturn retrograde is known for slowing things down, forcing us to reevaluate boundaries and responsibilities. This influence may lead to delays or temporary distancing in social or romantic contexts, but also offers the opportunity to restructure your commitments in a healthier way. Jupiter's transit through Gemini, which rules your 10th house of career and status, adds a significant counterpoint to the sun's introspective tone. Professionally, there are likely to be growth opportunities, particularly in communication, teaching, digital media, or advisory roles. You may gain recognition, but the emphasis will be on how your professional life intersects with your social ideals. With the sun highlighting your 11th house and Jupiter uplifting your 10th, you're being encouraged to align your achievements with a greater vision. The Mars-Ketu conjunction in Leo, your 12th house, until July 28th is particularly intense and must not be overlooked. Mars, representing action, drive, and aggression, merges with Ketu, the planet of detachment, surrender, and karmic severance, in the house of isolation. This combination can bring suppressed anger, restlessness, or a deep urge to escape from daily pressures. You may feel unusually withdrawn or even frustrated without knowing exactly why. Sleep disturbances, vivid dreams, or spiritual encounters may become more frequent. Because the sun is the ruler of the 12th house and now active in your 11th, some of these experiences may be mirrored in your social life, like sudden endings in friendships, a need to step away from social media, or a pull towards spiritual causes rather than material networking. Once Mars shifts into Virgo on July 28th, and Mercury turns direct on August 11th, the intensity eases and your focus sharpens. You'll begin to gain clarity on your goals and find more structure in your relationships. Venus's transit through Taurus, your 9th house, until July 26th supports spiritual journeys, academic pursuits, and higher learning. After Venus moves into Gemini and joins Jupiter in your 10th house, it creates a favorable blend for charm, creativity, and visibility in your profession, adding sweetness to the more serious tone set by the sun's introspection. Overall, the sun's transit through Cancer for Virgo individuals is a time to deeply reflect on your desires, reevaluate social and professional connections, and determine whether the life you're building outwardly truly resonates with your inner sense of purpose. While this may not be a period for loud accomplishments, it's one of great internal clarity. By the end of this transit, you will have a much better understanding of which relationships and goals are aligned with your soul's path, and which are quietly asking to be released. For Libra, the transit of the sun through Cancer is a dynamic and potentially career-defining period. The sun, the ruler of your 11th house, which governs gains, social networks, recognition, aspirations, and fulfillment of desires, is now entering your 10th house, the most prominent and powerful house for professional visibility, public image, authority, and reputation. This transit marks a significant elevation in your external life, with particular emphasis on achievements, influence, and how you're perceived by society. Notably, the sun gains directional strength, Digbala, in the 10th house, which means its ability to manifest its natural and house-based significations becomes considerably amplified. For you, this means not only a stronger presence in your career, but also the real possibility of gaining recognition, prestige, and influence within your field. The sun's natural characteristics, authority, confidence, ambition, and leadership, shine at their brightest in the 10th house. When placed here in transit, it encourages you to take charge, assert your ideas, and push forward with your professional goals. But because the sun is also the lord of the 11th house in your chart, this energy is not limited to ambition alone. It's directly tied to your long-term dreams, your desire to make a mark, and your pursuit of success in the outer world. Projects or efforts you've nurtured over the past year may now be entering a phase of culmination or public acknowledgement. You could find yourself in the spotlight, either through new responsibilities, recognition from superiors, or a change in status that elevates your professional standing. Cancer, the sign in which the sun is transiting, brings in emotional intelligence, sensitivity, and protective instincts. These qualities blend with the assertive solar energy, encouraging a leadership style rooted in empathy and intuition. You may take charge in your workplace as one who understands the needs of others, protects their team, or leads by example. If you've been striving for a managerial role, public project, or a leadership position, this is an ideal time to push forward. Because Cancer is a water sign ruled by the moon, the emotional undertone to this transit cannot be overlooked. You may also feel the weight of your responsibilities more acutely, or be deeply concerned with your image and how your actions affect others. The 10th house also represents the father or authoritative figures in life. The sun's strong placement here can trigger themes related to your relationship with paternal figures or authority. This might be a time where you reflect on their influence in shaping your ambitions, or when you take up a role that mirrors their past contributions. Alternatively, if there has been tension with such figures, it could surface now in a bid to be resolved. The sun, being the illuminator, does not allow unresolved issues to stay hidden for long, especially in such a visible and karmically active house. Because the sun rules your 11th house, your ambitions and community-based connections are strongly linked to your career choices during this transit. The people you align yourself with now, colleagues, mentors, networks, have the potential to significantly influence your career growth. This is also a powerful time for using social visibility or digital platforms to enhance your professional reach. Networking efforts are more likely to bear fruit, but they must come from a place of integrity and genuine contribution. Your popularity or public image may be under scrutiny, so it's vital to uphold ethical standards in all professional dealings. Simultaneously, Mercury, the planet of communication and intellect, is also transiting Cancer and will go retrograde from July 18th to August 11th. It conjuncts the sun in your 10th house during this time, which adds a layer of complexity to your work life. You may have important meetings, strategic discussions, or contracts under review. Since Mercury governs both your 9th and 12th houses, there might be hidden elements at play, especially involving foreign affairs, legal matters, or spiritual institutions. During the retrograde, double-check all communications, especially in written formats, and be cautious with decisions involving superiors. Misunderstandings can arise, and clarifying intent becomes essential. This is an ideal time to revisit past career plans, revise ongoing projects, or reconnect with influential contacts who can aid your progress. Financially, this transit is auspicious. The 10th house being the Karma Bhava, house of action, combined with the sun's rulership over your 11th house of gains, creates a channel for financial returns through your efforts. You are more likely to see the rewards of your hard work materialize, especially if you've been consistent in your career endeavors. This also comes with the pressure to maintain high standards. You may feel that expectations from bosses, clients, or the public are growing, and your sense of self-worth could become intertwined with how well you're performing. On the other hand, Saturn's retrograde in Pisces, your 6th house of daily work, service, health, and discipline, is another house of work. This brings a sobering influence to the otherwise dynamic Sun transit. Saturn's influence demands structure, accountability, and persistence. While the Sun may want you to rise and shine, Saturn keeps reminding you that sustained success requires consistency and humility. You may face delays, additional responsibilities, or scrutiny in your workplace. This influence helps temper the ego and ensures that any rise in status is built on solid ground. It's also possible that some of your karmic obligations through work, helping others, mentoring juniors, or rectifying past missteps, may come up for review now. Adding to the mix is Jupiter's transit through Gemini, your 9th house of higher wisdom, dharma, and belief systems. Jupiter's blessings in this house help you make career decisions that are ethically grounded and future-focused. You may attract opportunities connected to teaching, publishing, consulting, or international platforms. There is an expansion of your worldview, and you may now view your career not just as a means to an end, but as a vehicle to fulfill a larger purpose. If you've been contemplating advanced studies, travel for work, or a philosophical pivot in your public role, Jupiter will support those aspirations in the background. The Mars-Ketu conjunction in Leo, your 11th house, until July 28th brings an unpredictable charge to your social and financial spheres. You may feel ambitious, competitive, or even driven to dominate in your circle, but Ketu's presence brings a spiritual undertone. It's likely that you'll feel both motivated and detached at the same time, working hard for goals, yet wondering why they don't emotionally fulfill you. This can also result in some abrupt shifts in friendships or networks. People may exit your life suddenly, or you may lose interest in superficial connections. After Mars moves into Virgo, your 12th house, this intensity gives way to a more reflective and strategic approach. Venus's presence in Taurus, your 8th house, until July 26th brings sensuality, transformation, and hidden financial matters into focus. It's a favorable period for long-term investments, joint ventures, or diving into subjects that require emotional and psychological depth. When Venus moves into Gemini, your 9th house, and joins Jupiter, it becomes a wonderful time to explore love, beauty, and harmony through education, philosophy, or travel. This later part of the Sun transit can bring heart-opening experiences that balance the ambition-driven focus with inner joy and learning. Overall, the Sun's transit through your 10th house in Cancer, especially while ruling your 11th house, is an extremely potent period for career elevation, recognition, and social growth. You are stepping into a space where your efforts are visible, your voice is influential, and your goals feel within reach. As you assert yourself, lead with empathy, and embrace responsibility, you'll find that the foundations you build now can sustain not just your ambitions, but your sense of meaning as well. For Scorpio, the transit of the Sun through Cancer from July 16th to August 17th, 2025, brings a potent period of philosophical realignment, spiritual growth, and long-distance opportunities. The Sun, which governs your 10th house of career, public image, and authority, is now transiting your 9th house, a domain that rules higher learning, belief systems, foreign travel, mentorship, dharma, life path, and legal matters. This shift creates a compelling blend of professional ambitions and spiritual inquiries, encouraging you to look at your life goals through a broader lens. The 9th house is the house of wisdom and expansive learning. It's the space in your chart that connects you with teachers, gurus, and philosophies that shape your worldview. With the Sun, your 10th lord, now transiting here, you are being asked to connect your professional life with a larger sense of purpose. As the Sun moves through the emotionally driven sign of Cancer, your quest for truth is guided not just by logic but by the emotional resonance of what feels right for you. Cancer adds a nurturing, intuitive quality to this transit. This means your search for truth isn't confined to books or intellectual debates. You may find it in moments of silence, conversations with elders, travel to sacred spaces, or time spent with your family or ancestors. Emotional healing and spiritual awakening may go hand in hand. There's a desire to belong, not just to a culture or a religion, but to a universal truth that comforts your soul. Because the Sun also represents authority figures, you may encounter teachers or mentors during this time who play a pivotal role in shaping your next career or philosophical direction. This transit is also highly favorable for students, educators, spiritual seekers, and those working in law, religion, international business, or publishing. If your career involves teaching, advising, or sharing knowledge, this can be a time of significant visibility and impact. You might be offered an opportunity to speak publicly, attend a major academic event, or even travel for a professional engagement. Foreign opportunities, either for work, study, or pilgrimage, could present themselves now. Since the Sun is the planet of visibility and Cancer represents one's emotional foundations, these events may feel deeply personal and transformative. With Mercury also transiting Cancer and retrograding from July 18th to August 11th, this period comes with some caution. Mercury rules both your 8th and 11th houses, dealing with transformation, secrecy, gains, and social networks. And its retrograde in the May 9th create delays or confusion around travel plans, legal documentation, or institutional affiliations. Double-check any paperwork, especially related to visas, educational admissions, or publishing contracts. Conversations with teachers, mentors, or even your parents may require careful handling to avoid misunderstandings. On the bright side, retrograde Mercury offers a chance to revisit old teachings, reconnect with previous guides, or return to spiritual practices you may have abandoned. The 9th house also governs your belief system, what you hold to be true about the world. The Sun's transit here acts like a spotlight that exposes outdated, rigid, or limiting beliefs and pushes you to evolve. You may come to realize that some ideas you've clung to for years no longer reflect your lived experience or personal growth. This realization can feel disorienting at first, especially for a fixed sign like Scorpio that tends to hold on deeply. But it's also liberating, opening doors to fresh perspectives, inclusive ideologies, and more compassionate ways of understanding life. Saturn's retrograde in Pisces, which affects your 5th house of education, creativity, and intelligence, adds a layer of seriousness to this process. The 5th and 9th houses together form a strong dharmic axis in the chart, dealing with past life karmas, creativity, and personal wisdom. With Saturn in your 5th house while the Sun moves through your 9th, there is a karmic refinement underway. You may be asked to review not just what you believe, but also how you apply your intelligence in your life's work. Projects involving writing, teaching, parenting, or creative work may slow down or feel heavy during this time, not to discourage you, but to make sure they are built with long-term stability. Financially, the Sun's transit in the 9th house can open doors to gains through foreign connections, higher education, legal outcomes, or religious/spiritual institutions. Since it rules your 10th house, any efforts made now, whether toward learning or travel, could translate into future career benefits. You may spend money on spiritual journeys, courses, or travel, but these expenses are more like investments in your evolution rather than mere consumption. Keep in mind that with Mercury retrograde, you must remain practical and cautious. Avoid hasty decisions or unnecessary risks. Jupiter, transiting through Gemini, your 8th house, brings an element of transformation, awakening, and depth. The 8th and 9th houses working together signal a period of intense spiritual evolution. You may be drawn toward esoteric subjects, astrology, psychology, or healing arts. Jupiter's presence here supports inner growth, research, and delving into mysteries. When combined with the Sun's movement through the 9th, this points toward a strong spiritual inquiry, one that could be life-altering. Some Scorpio individuals may begin formal studies in spiritual sciences, while others might explore hidden truths or family karmas. Meanwhile, Mars, the ruler of your chart, is transiting Leo until July 28th, in your 10th house, the very house the Sun rules. With Mars here forming a conjunction with Ketu, there may be a feeling of fierce ambition mixed with spiritual detachment. You might feel an inner conflict between wanting to achieve big goals and questioning whether they still matter. This transit can make you work tirelessly in your career, but there may be an underlying feeling that something's missing. This is the energy of karmic purging, an invitation to understand what kind of success is truly fulfilling and what you must let go of. After July 28th, when Mars enters Virgo, you may shift toward a more collaborative and strategic career approach. Venus's presence in Taurus, your 7th house, until July 26th brings harmony in relationships and may help offset some of the emotional heaviness brought by spiritual questions and professional restructuring. Partnerships, both personal and business, can provide support, grounding, and perspective during this phase. After Venus moves into Gemini and joins Jupiter in your 8th house, intimacy and deep emotional connections become important themes. You may experience emotional renewal through close bonding or even counseling. Overall, the Sun's transit through Cancer for Scorpio individuals represents a powerful synthesis of ambition and meaning. This period illuminates the intersection between your career and your higher calling. It's about more than external success. It's about discovering whether your achievements contribute to something greater than yourself. The challenges that arise now, whether through belief shifts, travel delays, or professional questioning, are not obstacles, but invitations to align your outer life with your inner truth. This is a time for embracing mentors, seeking wisdom, and allowing your spiritual path to influence your public role. For Sagittarius, the transit of the Sun through Cancer marks a deeply transformative and introspective period. The Sun, which governs your 9th house of Dharma, wisdom, higher education, spirituality, law, long-distance travel, and father figures, is now transiting your 8th house, a territory that governs hidden matters, sudden changes, psychological depth, inheritance, research, occult studies, shared resources, and emotional vulnerability. This is not a light or externally expressive phase. Instead, it represents a powerful inner churning where the very foundations of your beliefs and life philosophy can go through renewal, upheaval, or radical shifts. When the Sun, a planet of clarity, consciousness, and illumination, transits the 8th house, it doesn't bring visibility in the external world. Instead, it shines its light into the shadowy areas of life, bringing your attention to things that are usually hidden, suppressed, or difficult to face. Since the Sun rules your 9th house, this transit connects the pursuit of truth and higher knowledge with the deep emotional and karmic terrain of the 8th. It may prompt you to confront whether your beliefs are truly your own, or whether they've been inherited, imposed, or accepted without deep questioning. Philosophies that once brought you comfort may now feel inadequate. Religious, cultural, or moral ideologies could come under scrutiny, not because you've outgrown them entirely, but because the universe is nudging you to redefine truth on your terms. This transit can stir major internal realizations. With Cancer as the host sign, ruled by the Moon, your emotional memories and unconscious patterns are especially activated. Childhood conditioning, karmic imprints, or inherited emotional traits might rise to the surface, requiring acknowledgement and healing. The emotional terrain may feel intense, but this period is not about breakdown, it's about breakthrough. You may not be able to express your feelings outwardly during this time, but internally you'll be processing a vast amount of psychological material. It's a prime time for therapy, journaling, healing, or retreats, especially those focused on emotional release or karmic purification. The 8th house is also tied to shared finances, insurance, inheritance, taxes, and joint ventures. With the Sun ruling your 9th house, often associated with legal systems, advisors, or long-term plans, this can be a time when matters related to wills, property, or ancestral wealth come into focus. You may need to consult legal experts or financial planners regarding shared assets, investments, or sudden changes in economic circumstances. If there's been any unresolved matter tied to inheritance or familial property, it could resurface for resolution. You must remain cautious, as this house can also bring unexpected disruptions. Financial dealings, especially involving others, should be approached with full awareness and transparency. Mercury, the planet of communication and intellect, is also transiting Cancer during this period and will go retrograde from July 18th to August 11th. This retrograde phase within the 8th house adds another layer of depth and complexity. Mercury governs your 7th and 10th houses: marriage, partnerships, career, and public reputation. As Mercury reverses through your 8th house, conversations and relationships, especially intimate ones, may become more emotionally intense or prone to misunderstanding. You may uncover hidden truths, rethink shared plans, or reassess long-term commitments. Professionally, this could indicate backroom discussions, confidential negotiations, or a temporary retreat from public responsibilities due to emotional or health matters. Be extra careful with contracts or sensitive disclosures during this phase. On a more spiritual level, this is a potent time to explore esoteric studies. The 8th house is often associated with astrology, tantra, and occult knowledge. The Sun's presence here can act like a torch in a cave, guiding you towards spiritual tools that help you understand life beyond the surface. You might be drawn to explore past lives, karmic patterns, or subjects like death and rebirth. These interests may seem intense to others, but for Sagittarius individuals, who are naturally curious and philosophically inclined, this is a chance to go deeper than ever before into the mysteries of life. Some of the answers you've been seeking outside may now begin to come from within. Saturn's retrograde in Pisces, your 4th house of inner peace, home, mother, and emotional grounding. The 4th and 8th houses both relate to emotional foundations and buried content, whether psychological or ancestral. With Saturn retrograde, themes of karmic debt, family responsibilities, and inner restructuring may coincide with the Sun's illumination of the 8th house. You may need to come to terms with emotional patterns passed down from your family, or find that events in your domestic life are forcing you to evolve emotionally. Jupiter, the ruling planet of your chart, is currently transiting Gemini, your 7th house of partnerships. While the Sun digs through your internal layers, Jupiter expands your relationship sector. You may attract partners, clients, or advisors who catalyze your growth, especially by helping you see aspects of yourself that you've avoided. Because Jupiter and the Sun are both natural teachers, this transit brings you important lessons through intimacy, partnership, and even confrontation. A business or romantic partner may challenge your worldview, but that challenge is meant to help you evolve. Mars's presence in Leo until July 28th, transiting your 9th house, further energizes themes of travel, education, and belief. Since it is conjunct Ketu, the South Node, until then, there is a strange duality in this energy. You may feel motivated to pursue new experiences or courses, but simultaneously feel disillusioned or spiritually detached. Ketu brings a sense of renunciation or karmic resolution. This means that before new paths open up, older ones must be released. After July 28th, Mars enters Virgo and energizes your 10th house of career. This shift will gradually bring more external focus and help you translate the insights gained during this introspective period into concrete action. Venus's transit through Taurus, your 6th house, until July 26th emphasizes self-care, service, and healing. You may feel drawn toward improving your daily routine, nutrition, or emotional well-being through gentle practices. Once Venus enters Gemini and joins Jupiter in your 7th house, relationship matters become smoother, and there could be opportunities for emotional or material gain through partners. This is especially helpful given the emotional intensity of the Sun's stay in the 8th. Overall, the Sun's transit through Cancer in your 8th house as the ruler of your 9th house initiates a profound period of emotional, philosophical, and spiritual transformation. You are being asked to step beyond surface-level truths and dive into the depths of your own psyche, karmic patterns, and subconscious fears. This is a time to embrace the inner work, to heal, and to allow parts of your old self to dissolve so that a new understanding can emerge. The outer world may seem quiet, or even distant, but the inner world is louder than ever, demanding honesty, courage, and surrender. For Capricorn, the transit of the Sun through Cancer is both significant and intense, as it brings your focus to the area of one-on-one relationships, legal contracts, partnerships, and business associations. During this time, the Sun, which governs your 8th house, the house of deep transformation, sudden changes, secrets, joint resources, and emotional vulnerability, moves through your 7th house, the house of marriage, public interactions, long-term relationships, and alliances. The Sun's presence in the 7th house generally draws attention to partnerships and the way you relate to others. For Capricorn individuals, who are often private and focused on structure and self-mastery, this transit can feel somewhat exposing. The 7th house is opposite your 1st house, and as such, it acts as a spotlight, casting attention on the areas of life you typically keep more reserved. Now, with the Sun traveling through this part of your chart, your focus shifts to how you engage with others, particularly in personal and professional relationships. Because the Sun is the Lord of your 8th house, it brings the complexity, intensity, and unpredictability of 8th house matters into your relationships. You may find that certain dynamics with partners, whether romantic or business-oriented, trigger emotional reactions that originate from deeper psychological or karmic layers. The Sun is a planet of visibility, consciousness, ego, and life force. In the 7th house, it often compels you to examine what role your ego plays in your relationships. You may become more aware of how power dynamics, emotional control, or unspoken expectations have influenced the balance of your partnerships. If there has been any manipulation or unresolved emotional tension beneath the surface of your relationships, this transit may bring those issues into the light. Since the Sun is associated with clarity, this is not a transit where you can remain in denial. You'll likely feel a strong urge, or even external pressure, to address what is no longer working in your connections. Because the 8th house also governs transformation, shared assets, and trust, these themes could arise now through your interaction with others. For married individuals, this transit may stir issues around intimacy, transparency, or financial dependencies. You might need to renegotiate agreements or revisit old wounds that have yet to be healed. It can also bring up situations where you're required to share something, be it emotional space, time, or monetary resources, in a more balanced or conscious way. The same applies to business dealings. Contracts, negotiations, and joint ventures could enter a phase where hidden clauses, unequal partnerships, or unspoken boundaries come up for review. The sign of Cancer, where the Sun is transiting, is ruled by the Moon and has a naturally emotional and protective quality. This brings emotional sensitivity to your relationships during this time. Conversations may carry a deeper emotional charge, and you might find yourself navigating both your own emotional vulnerability and that of your partner. Cancer's nurturing quality can also help relationships grow, especially if both parties are willing to be honest and vulnerable. This is a period where healing is possible, especially if you're willing to face uncomfortable truths together. Adding to the complexity of this transit, Mercury is also moving through Cancer, and it will turn retrograde from July 18th to August 11th. Mercury governs your 6th and 9th houses, which deal with work, responsibilities, daily duties, as well as law, higher learning, and philosophical values. During this retrograde, misunderstandings, delays in legal or contractual matters, or unresolved relationship issues from the past may resurface. You might find yourself revisiting old conversations with a partner or rethinking the terms of an agreement, whether legal, emotional, or business-related. Communication becomes important now, and you'll need to practice patience and clarity. Retrogrades are excellent times for reflection, and this one encourages you to revise how you communicate and what values you're bringing into your partnerships. Career-wise, this transit can also play an important role. The 7th house represents not only marriage but also open enemies, public dealings, clients, and market visibility. If you're self-employed, this period may bring critical insights into your client relationships or the image you project publicly. Since the 8th house lord is transiting here, themes around public perception versus private intentions could be heightened. You may also receive support from others, especially women or emotionally attuned individuals, who help you navigate complex work dynamics or open up new collaborations. Challenges may arise through authority figures, especially if the Sun is transiting over sensitive natal placements or is weakly placed in your birth chart. The Sun tends to behave with dominance and expects loyalty. If power struggles or control issues emerge in personal or professional relationships, this transit could amplify them, bringing them to the surface for resolution. In the background of all this, Saturn, your chart ruler, is retrograde in Pisces, your 3rd house. The 3rd house deals with communication, courage, siblings, and short-term planning. Saturn's retrograde adds a karmic flavor to your interactions, especially when it comes to how you assert yourself or express your opinions in partnerships. You may feel somewhat reserved or find it difficult to speak your truth during this time, especially if doing so risks confrontation or emotional exposure. Yet, Saturn urges you to slow down, evaluate your communication habits, and commit to more authentic expression. Your ability to build long-term, sustainable relationships hinges on how honestly and responsibly you engage during this period. Jupiter's transit through Gemini, your 6th house, also plays a background role. The 6th house is associated with debts, daily routines, work life, service, and health. Jupiter here expands your ability to deal with challenges, but it also brings a heavier workload and more responsibility. In the context of the Sun's transit through your 7th house, this may point toward collaborative projects at work, negotiating terms with colleagues, or even exploring the balance between personal relationships and professional commitments. You may also find that service-based partnerships become more meaningful during this period. Mars's conjunction with Ketu in Leo, which affects your 8th house until July 28th, has particular significance here. This combination stirs up hidden frustrations, past life karmas, and suppressed desires. You might feel the urge to cut cords, end toxic patterns, or confront fears that have lingered in the shadows. This inner purification aligns closely with the Sun's journey through the 7th house. After July 28th, as Mars moves into Virgo, your 9th house, you'll begin to channel your energy more constructively into higher learning, travel, or spiritual discipline, providing a bit of relief from the emotional heaviness. Venus in Taurus until July 26th brings some comfort as it moves through your 5th house, a house of joy, romance, creativity, and children. Its supportive influence can help soften the more emotionally intense experiences in your relationships, encouraging you to find shared activities or creative outlets with your partner that promote closeness. When Venus moves into Gemini and conjoins Jupiter, it will enhance cooperation and understanding at work, making the tail end of this Sun transit a bit more productive and harmonious. Overall, the Sun's transit through your 7th house, while ruling the 8th, is a time of relational intensity, truth-telling, and karmic reckoning. It's not just about who you're partnered with, but how you're evolving through those partnerships. While the transit may expose fragile areas in your connections, it also offers the clarity needed to heal, rebuild, or even transform them completely. For Aquarius, the transit of the Sun through Cancer from July 16th to August 17th, 2025, signifies an important time when themes of responsibility, service, relationship karma, and self-discipline come to the forefront. The Sun, as the ruler of your 7th house, which governs marriage, long-term relationships, business partnerships, legal agreements, and one-on-one dynamics, is moving through your 6th house, the house of daily routine, health, debts, competition, obstacles, and employment. This brings your attention to the interplay between personal relationships and your ability to navigate everyday responsibilities. Since the 6th house is also a house of correction and healing, this period can reveal imbalances in your partnerships that now require practical resolution. The Sun, representing the soul's drive for purpose and dignity, entering the 6th house pushes you toward a more work-focused, health-conscious, and duty-oriented state of being. With its rulership over the 7th house, the Sun is carrying the energy of partnership into the area of service and struggle. This can manifest in multiple ways. You may feel the pressure to show up for others in your life in more pragmatic and supportive ways. If you are married or in a committed relationship, your partner may go through a phase of health issues, professional challenges, or general stress, and you might be called to assist, support, or accommodate their changing routine. For those who are not in committed partnerships, this period can bring about people in your life who challenge you, sometimes as open competitors, critics, or individuals who act as mirrors to your own unresolved patterns. The 6th house is a place where we confront our enemies, not just externally, but also within. Since the Sun is a symbol of self-esteem and authority, its movement here suggests that your ego may be tested through confrontations with others. Legal matters, conflicts with colleagues, or tensions in business relationships may arise, especially if there have been unresolved issues that were previously brushed aside. This is not to create chaos, but rather to push you toward maturity in how you handle opposition, how you set boundaries, and how you act with integrity under pressure. Cancer, the sign in which this transit occurs, is governed by the Moon and brings a nurturing yet emotionally reactive tone to the mix. While the Sun seeks clarity and leadership, Cancer introduces sensitivity and emotional undercurrents that can't be ignored. You may experience mood fluctuations in your daily life, especially triggered by emotional or interpersonal stress. Work-life balance could feel more delicate than usual. If your routines have been chaotic or unhealthy, this is a time when you're being called to take responsibility, not just for your duties, but for your physical and emotional well-being. Emotional tension in relationships, especially those with coworkers, employees, or clients, could reach a breaking point if not addressed with compassion and communication. Adding complexity to this period, Mercury is also transiting Cancer and will be retrograde from July 18th to August 11th. Mercury rules your 5th and 8th houses, relating to creativity, romance, risk-taking, transformation, and shared resources. Its retrograde in the 6th house can create confusion in contracts, daily planning, or work-related communication. Misunderstandings with coworkers or delays in official correspondence are possible. On the relationship front, unresolved tensions could resurface, especially ones related to emotional labor or shared responsibilities. You may also revisit old habits, physical or emotional, that need revision. The retrograde offers a chance to recalibrate your time management and to rethink how you're investing your energy both in relationships and in personal well-being. Since the 6th house also governs physical health, and the sun is a hot, dry, intense planet, this transit requires some attention to your physical system, especially related to digestion, stress, and inflammation. If you've been neglecting your health due to work or emotional distractions, this period may serve as a wake-up call. There may be minor health issues, such as fatigue, blood pressure fluctuations, or stomach sensitivity, that serve as cues to adjust your lifestyle. Since the sun brings vitality but also burns where it is imbalanced, self-care must be prioritized to avoid burnout. On the work front, the 6th house rules employment and service. With the 7th lord here, you might find yourself involved in professional contracts or collaborations that require more effort and discipline than usual. You may take on a temporary role of service or mentorship in your workplace. Ego clashes with authority figures or colleagues may also arise if the lines between leadership and cooperation blur. It's important to practice humility while also maintaining personal dignity. This is a time when working behind the scenes, solving problems practically, and avoiding unnecessary conflict will serve you far better than asserting dominance or demanding recognition. Saturn's retrograde in Pisces, your 2nd house, plays a vital background role. The 2nd house governs speech, finances, family values, and self-worth. Saturn's review of this area while the sun activates your 6th house suggests that there may be pressure on you to meet obligations, financial or familial, while managing your health and relational tensions. You might be trying to support others financially or emotionally while also maintaining your professional stability. Saturn teaches endurance, and during its retrograde, you're being asked to reevaluate your resource management and foundational values. Meanwhile, Jupiter is transiting Gemini, your 5th house of creativity, education, and emotional expression. This is a supportive influence, suggesting that even during a phase of problem-solving and routine building, you are not disconnected from joy, inspiration, or future potential. Jupiter's influence here encourages you to stay connected to your creative mind, perhaps using writing, teaching, or intellectual pursuits as an outlet for stress. Mars and Ketu's conjunction happening in Sun's own Leo, your 7th house, until July 28th. This alignment could trigger volatility or severance energy in partnerships. There may be conflicts, power struggles, or a sense of detachment brewing in one-on-one dynamics. You may be asked to let go of toxic relationship patterns, or even certain people, in order to regain your personal power and independence. Mars adds heat and urgency, while Ketu brings detachment and spiritual lessons. After July 28th, as Mars moves into Virgo, your 8th house, your attention will turn toward deeper emotional and financial entanglements, continuing this period's theme of relational purification. Finally, Venus's transit through Taurus, your 4th house, until July 26th brings soothing support to your emotional base. Home and family can be a refuge during this intense phase, or may require nurturing attention as well. Once Venus enters Gemini, joining Jupiter, you'll see greater ease in expressing yourself emotionally and romantically, especially important as the Sun continues to challenge your relationship dynamics through the lens of the 6th house. Overall, the Sun's transit through Cancer and your 6th house serves as a powerful reminder that love, partnership, and external harmony are intricately tied to how you manage your daily life, your duties, and your health. This is a time when your relationships act as a karmic mirror, reflecting not just affection or conflict, but the weight of shared responsibility, personal boundaries, and emotional integrity. You are being taught how to show up in relationships with maturity and self-awareness, how to give without losing yourself, and how to heal imbalances that can no longer be overlooked. For Pisces, the Sun's transit through Cancer brings a focused spotlight on your creative intelligence, emotional self-expression, and personal joys, but with a practical and karmic undertone. The Sun, which rules your 6th house, associated with health, daily routines, obstacles, service, enemies, debts, and hard work, is moving through your 5th house, the domain of creativity, romance, children, education, speculative gains, and inner inspiration. This alignment is both illuminating and complex, since the house of challenges, 6th, now intersects with the house of joy, 5th, blending duty with delight, and potentially turning pleasure into responsibility, or vice versa. The 5th house is generally a positive zone in any chart, representing the heart's desires, personal expression, and emotional fulfillment. With the 6th house ruler transiting here, this may not be a lighthearted or carefree period. Instead, it will likely require effort, dedication, and discernment in areas that should ordinarily bring joy. For example, if you are involved in a creative pursuit, this transit may push you to turn your talent into a structured practice. You may feel compelled to refine your skills, organize your artistic processes, or take a hobby more seriously. Similarly, if you are involved in speculative investments or trading, the Sun in this position urges caution and strategy rather than impulsive risk-taking, especially because it brings sixth house themes of debts and losses along with it. The Sun represents your soul, vitality, and confidence. In Cancer, an emotionally charged and nurturing sign, the Sun asks you to connect with your feelings in a sincere and authentic way. Yet, because it is bringing sixth house energies into the fifth, you may also face emotional burdens that demand maturity. Matters involving children or your romantic partner may become more prominent, but not always in a smooth or comfortable way. You may find yourself needing to show up for them in practical ways, dealing with their concerns, schedules, or even health issues. Alternatively, if you've been avoiding emotional confrontation in your love life, this transit could bring those buried issues to the surface for resolution. The Sun also illuminates flaws wherever it goes. With this transit, you may begin to see shortcomings in your current lifestyle, especially how your habits and stress levels are affecting your emotional state, creativity, or ability to engage in joy. For example, you might realize that work is draining your spirit, or that you're neglecting your inner child in favor of rigid routines. This realization can spark a desire to rebalance your life, where productivity doesn't eclipse passion. Don't expect this shift to be instant. The sixth house influence requires consistent effort, and the fifth house demands heartfelt investment, making this a time when the two must harmonize. For students or those pursuing education, this transit places extra emphasis on academic responsibilities. You may find yourself dealing with the pressure of exams, deadlines, or performance evaluations. The Sun can provide motivation and focus, but also ego issues around competition and recognition. Because it brings the nature of the sixth house with it, you may feel the need to prove yourself, to strive harder than usual to maintain your academic standing or to overcome procrastination. On the brighter side, this transit can bring a deeper connection to your studies if you align your daily habits with your larger goals. It may be a good time to refine your schedule, set up a structured learning plan, or seek mentorship to improve your skill set. From a health perspective, the Sun transiting the fifth house, while ruling the sixth, suggests that emotional well-being and physical health are interconnected. Stress that arises from personal disappointments or emotional strain may begin to show up in your body, particularly through digestive issues, energy fluctuations, or heart-related concerns. This is a time to honor both your physical and emotional rhythms, making sure you are neither overextending yourself nor suppressing your feelings. Incorporating creative outlets could be particularly healing during this phase, allowing you to release tension and restore your inner balance. Mercury, the planet of intellect and communication, is also transiting Cancer and will go retrograde from July 18th to August 11th in your fifth house. Mercury governs your fourth and seventh houses, areas related to home, emotions, partnerships, and contracts. Its retrograde in this emotionally intense sector may create confusion in matters of love, romance, education, or even matters involving your children. You may experience misunderstandings in love affairs or need to revisit conversations with your romantic interest. Communication may feel emotionally reactive or complicated during this period, but it's also a time to gain deeper insights. Creative projects that were left incomplete might return for a second chance, and you're likely to review your emotional investments more seriously. The emotionality of this transit is further deepened by Saturn's retrograde in your first house. Saturn in the first house puts immense emphasis on personal discipline, self-reflection, and long-term development. As the Sun activates your fifth house, where you naturally wish to express yourself, Saturn in the may first make you feel cautious or restrained. There can be an internal tension between the desire to enjoy life and the feeling that you're under scrutiny, pressure, or responsibility. In terms of your career or service-based efforts, this period may bring responsibilities connected to mentoring, guiding, or teaching others, particularly if you work in education, health, or the creative arts. You may be seen as a role model, whether or not you feel ready for it. The Sun in the fifth house tends to put you on display in some way, and since it rules your sixth house, this visibility is likely linked to your competence, service, or work ethic. If you're involved in public speaking, teaching, or leadership roles, your words and actions will carry more emotional weight during this transit. Financially, speculative gains may be tempting under the influence of the Sun in the fifth, but because it rules your sixth house of debts and losses, it's best to exercise caution. Avoid risky investments or gambling tendencies. Instead, focus on building income through structured, thoughtful planning, and channeling creative skills into side ventures that have long-term potential. If you have children, their education, health, or emotional issues could require some financial attention during this time as well. The Mars-Ketu conjunction in Leo, your sixth house, until July 28th, underscores the themes of health, conflict resolution, and service. This fiery and karmic duo may bring moments of exhaustion, conflicts in work relationships, or a strong desire to detach from repetitive tasks. It's best to channel this energy into disciplined routines and constructive confrontation when necessary. After July 28th, when Mars enters Virgo, your 7th house, you'll see a shift toward partnership-related actions, which could provide resolution to any lingering relationship dynamics sparked earlier in this transit. Lastly, Venus transiting Taurus, your 3rd house until July 26th, gives you a smoother ability to communicate your ideas with charm and persuasion. This can help diffuse some of the emotional heaviness of the Sun-Mercury energy in your 5th house. Once Venus moves into Gemini and joins Jupiter in your 4th house, your inner world begins to feel more nurtured and stable, providing the emotional foundation needed to process the challenges brought by the Sun's transit. Overall, the Sun's movement through Cancer in your 5th house while ruling the 6th introduces a paradox. The pursuit of joy may feel demanding, and self-expression may come with conditions. But within this lies the key to lasting fulfillment. As the emotional currents rise, you are given an opportunity to mature emotionally, deepen your self-awareness, and turn effort into empowerment. Whether it's through your role as a student, parent, artist, or lover, this transit invites you to bring sincerity, structure, and soulful intent to everything that brings you joy. As we conclude this episode, please remember that these insights are based on Sidereal or Vedic astrology, which accounts for the approximately 24-degree difference from the tropical zodiac. Individual predictions may vary, as every birth chart is unique. The influence of dasha periods and natal planetary placements can shape transits differently, both positively and negatively. It's essential to consider your own birth chart when applying these general predictions to your personal circumstances. If you'd like personalized predictions or have questions about your astrological chart, feel free to reach out to us. Stay tuned for more astrological updates. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel for more insightful astrology content. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to sharing more astrological wisdom with you in the future. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep shining bright.